Having a high basketball IQ as a point guard isn't optional, it's a non-negotiable. You can be skilled, you can be athletic, but if you don't know how to see the game, how to read defenses, control pace, and create advantages, you'll always hit a ceiling. That's why I want to show you this guy, Marcelo Huertas. He's 42 years old and still dominating one of the best leagues in the world outside of the NBA, and it's not because he's faster or stronger, it's because his IQ is elite. So if you're trying to understand what it really looks like to play like a high IQ point guard, this is one of the best examples you'll ever see. Let's get into it. Now, your job as a point guard, if you want to make it really simple, your one job is to create advantages for your team. And if you understand what that means and how to do it, then you're going to be able to be a really effective point guard. One of the most common actions that you're going to see that's going to lead to the creation of an advantage is a ball screen. These days, pretty much at every level, every point guard, if you can use ball screens, you're going to use them a lot, and they can be really effective. And we see some different coverages here that create advantage. So the first one that we see here is Huertas is coming off of this ball screen up here, and they're sending like a blitz or a hard hedge coverage, meaning his defender's chasing him over, and he now has the screener's defender who's jumping up to put pressure on him, not allow him to turn the corner. And what this does is it creates a numbers advantage because we see right here, he gets that ball out, and now we have a numbers advantage all around the court, allows dominoes to fall, and they get an easy bucket inside. So as we see right here, when we create this 2-on-1, he did his job, which is, can I get two guys to guard me? Because if I do that, it means that we're going to create 1, 2, 3, 4 on my team being guarded by only 3 players. So he recognizes, okay, I got a double. I'm going to throw the pass to wherever the double team came from, which in this case is the screener. And that leads to what we call the dominoes falling. Simply put, if you think of a game of dominoes, right, or you line up a bunch of dominoes and knock them over, that's what happens when you create a numbers advantage and you pass the ball to the person who's open. Because now this help defender who's guarding the guy in the corner has to rotate over. That means that as he kicks the ball out, this defender who is guarding the wing player has got to close out down to him. So that's the next domino falling. He kicks the ball out. Now this guy's got to sprint out. We have a long closeout that we can look to attack. And at this point, we now have this guy who is wide open. This dude over here is in no man's land having to guard 2. And that leads to wide open finish right there, but that's all created because Huertas recognized the numbers advantage when he saw that blitz or that hard hedge coverage. So again, we see ball screen here, and he does something that is really, really smart, and it's called flipping the ball screen. If you're a point guard, your goal should be you want to make your defender chase you over the ball screen, because what that does is it creates a 2-on-1 numbers advantage, much like we saw in the last scene. We'll see it a lot. It creates what's called drop coverage, where you essentially have this defender who's guarding the screener now responsible for guarding you from getting downhill as well, and it puts them in a disadvantage. But if you're a point guard and your defender doesn't go over the screen the first time that you use it, you can do what's called flipping the screen, which is what we see here. So his defender goes under the screen the first time, so he just has his screener turn and set the screen the other way. So that's called flipping it. Same thing happens though. He tries to go off the screen, his defender plays under it, so he flips it a third time. The reason that flipping the screen is really important is because look at where they started at. So they started up, I mean, he's coming off this almost at the logo. Like, if you're a defender, you don't have to guard most people out this far because that is not in range for the majority of players that you're going to play. So he does that. He flips the screen. Now look how they're a little bit lower the second time he uses the screen. A little bit closer to being in range. But his defender still feels like, okay, I can go under the screen. He does it again. Now look at where this third screen is being set. He's now setting it on the 3-point line. So his defender says, well, I have to play over now because he's now fully in range. If I play under it again, he might have a wide open 3. So by flipping the screen, we essentially force them into drop coverage because of the fact that we're closer to the basket now. That's what happens. And like I said, it creates that 2-on-1 advantage. This guy, his original defender, is pretty much out of the play. And now all that he needs to do is read what this drop defender does. Does he take me away? Okay, now I've got my guy wide open for a little short roll pass there. Or does he not fully commit to taking me away? And that means that I'm going to be open here. And in this case, he doesn't fully commit to it, so he gets a wide open elbow jump shot simply because he was patient, flipped the screen, he put the defense in a position where they had to guard it the way that he wanted them to. So right here, we see more drop coverage. And again, all we're thinking about is, what is this guy doing? He decides that he's going to step back and not allow himself to get beat to the basket. And that leaves him open to take a floater, which is a tough shot for a lot of players, but it probably could have even just been a pull-up jump shot All that simply because the defense shows drop coverage and all he has to do is make a read on the drop defender. So we've got another ball screen right here, changes the angle of it. So now he's coming as more of like a step up screen going towards the sideline. And we again see drop coverage. And again, he's just thinking about what is this guy doing? This drop defender is turning and sprinting to the basket in order to not get beat. This is what I tell players is called the pull up read. When you see that defender crossing their feet, trying to sprint and beat you to the spot, if you just stop and pull up, you're going to have a wide open jump shot because at best, this defender is going to have to take one more step here, which he has to do. We see this. He can't fully stop on this step. He's got to take one more. So he's not going to really be able to contest that shot. And he has a wide open pull up right there. So let's watch that clip again so you can see exactly what I'm talking about with that defender flipping their hips to sprint. So we see, okay, this is the initial hip flip here where he's taking that right leg and crossing it over. So if you are a smart offensive player, you can take advantage of him doing this. So he's going to take one more dribble and he's going to cross over again and he's going to stop right on this because he's guaranteed to have to finish this step and take one more. And that leads to a wide open mid-range jump shot there. So right here, we see another example of an advantage that he created and then was able to exploit. But it's a different one on this one. We see a size or athleticism mismatch. So let's look at how they guard this ball screen. So he comes off of this, and if we look at the beginning of it, gets his hand off, and the initial screen is sending him towards the sideline, but his defender doesn't really get hit by it, so he's going to do what he did earlier and just flip it and go the other way. Comes off of it, flips it. Now what we see is they're not going to drop anymore. They decide, okay, well, we're just going to switch this. And now all of a sudden we have two different mismatches. We have this initial perimeter mismatch. So he might think, well, can I attack this guy? Maybe he's bigger, slower. But what we really see is massive mismatch with the screener now. And he knows if I can get him the ball and he can steal, then we're going to be able to score out of it. And that's exactly what he looks to do. And he's able to get him that ball for the easy 2 and 1. Let's look at this again here. Comes off it, flips it. Boom, red light goes off, mismatch, gets him the ball inside. That's high IQ point guard play right there. So another really great way to create an advantage using a ball screen is to reject it. And what I tell my players is reject the ball screen whenever possible. That's like my number one pet peeve. I hear coaches yell at their players like, oh, use the screen. And there are certainly times to use a screen. I'm not saying that you will always reject it every single time if that's not the read. But when you can reject a screen, it essentially ensures that there's not going to be any sort of drop coverage if you beat your initial defender, as we see right here. So screen comes on the sideline and he sets his player up really well with this double cross, and then he rejects it. Now look at what this creates for the defense. This guy's not in the play. This guy's not in the play. This guy's got to make a choice. Am I going to help in on this drive and leave an open shooter in the corner, or am I going to stay? And now Huertas' only decision is, okay, well, what is this guy doing? Is he going to step in and take me away? If so, kick out easy. And if he stays, well, then it's going to be me probably getting to a pull-up right here. And that's exactly what he does. Gets himself to like a pull-up floater. Simply because he rejects that screen, it puts a ton of pressure on the help defense. That, again, is just high IQ point guard play, setting up that reject, reading that next defender. It's him. He makes a shot. So now we see some of these defenders getting really tired of chasing him over these screens and creating drop coverage because he's doing a great job of exploiting that numbers advantage and that 2-on-1. So here you see ball screen happens like right on the 3-point line. His defender goes under. And as a point guard, this is an incredibly important shot for you to be able to make, is just this 3 when they play under, like below the 3-point line. That's going to be a 3 that high-level point guards can make at a high level. So if you're a point guard, that's a shot you got to make sure that you're working on consistently to make them pay. And now what this is going to force is, okay, he made that 3. Well, now I have to go over. And like we've seen already, that creates a ton of advantages for the offense going downhill if you force your defender to play over the screen. So make sure this is the shot that you're working on if you're a point guard. So like I just said, this is like a little over a minute later in this game. Same defender that just guarded him and went under screen and lost the 3. So what are we going to see now? He knows I can't go under, so he's going to try and beat him over top of the screen here. And he does. But again, this goes back to being patient. And if you know, okay, he didn't get hit by the screen, I'm not going to create anything, it's got to be an automatic flip for you as a point guard. Okay, I'm flipping and going the other way. Now I'm going to make him beat me over the screen 2 times in a row. That's really, really hard to do. So he flips that screen, gets the other way. He's got to go over. Created that 2-on-1, that drop coverage again. And now, again, his only read is, what is this drop defender going to do? And in this case, he decides that he's all game, he's watched him just destroy them in drop coverage and hit these pull-ups, so he's gonna take him away this time, and he sees, okay, number 19 wide open, adds a little bit of flair. He probably could have just gone with, like, a simple bounce pass there, but obviously, if you can do it, then do it, and puts them in a really tough 2-on-1 position. Big just goes right back to him with it. Wide open layup because he made the right decision getting downhill and reading that drop defender. So one of the most important things that you can do as a point guard is be willing to slow down and dictate the pace to the defenders around you. What we see here is we have a ball screen that's really high up, and he's got his defender in drop coverage again. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to slow himself down in order to keep his defender, what we would just call jail, keeping your defender in jail, which means keeping them behind you, keeping them guessing as to what you're going to do. That's what he does. He slows himself down just to put continued pressure on this drop defender. He's going to make him continue to drop down. And now his defender's slowing up, thinking, well, is he pulling the ball back out? Is he going to stop and take the shot? And it forces him to slow down. And then he can decide what he wants to do, as opposed to a lot of young point guards just go all out 1,000,000% speed right here, drive into two defenders and put himself in a really tough position. He slows down and it creates an opening for just a little jump shot right there. When I break down his game, I think he really exemplifies like the most important pieces of decision making and skill when it comes to being a point guard. Number one is, can you create advantages using ball screens? Do you understand how to do that? How can I put the defense into drop coverage? What do I do if they play under? Do I know when to flip the ball screen? And then making the decision of, what is the drop defender doing? Are they taking me away? Are they taking the screener away? And then making the decision accordingly. And then being able to actually make those in between shots. Can you hit a mid range pull up at the elbow if that's what the decision calls for? Can you make a floater if that's what the decision calls for? Can you make that three when the defender goes under the ball screen when you're right on the 3-point line? If you can do those things, you have a chance to be a really, really high level point guard, especially when you consistently make the right decisions. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you have any players that you also want me to break down, drop that as well. And if you want to take your basketball IQ to the next level, I have a free 28-day basketball IQ email course linked down in the description below. We've seen some great results from players who are doubling their points per game, having their first ever triple-double, going from being one of the worst players at their spot to scoring a ton more points and being one of the like X factors for their team. I've seen a lot, and I hear from players every day going through it. Completely free. It's going to help you to just give a quick digestible lesson every single day. It's going to help you to see the game better, make better decisions, and overall have more success on the court. So if you're interested in that, top link down below, definitely check that out. Like I said, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Talk soon. Peace.